News and information you can trust. This is American Freedom Radio. Freedom. American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
November 5th, tomorrow. Remember, the 5th of November. And do that by going to thisnovember5th.com. And you could pledge $25 or more for some great freedom candidates out there. You heard my opening rant about these ginned up, phony elections that just happened yesterday, and the mainstream media just going nuts over that. There are real candidates out there, like Rand Paul and our own Deborah Medina and Peter Schiff and so many others. Adam Kokesh, of course, who was on the show just a couple of days ago. Got to support these people. Tell everyone about the November 5th money bomb, and that will be your part. If you can donate, great. If not, hey, get out there and tell everyone about it. Just start posting it everywhere. This is another effort by my old friend Trevor Lyman. Joining us on the program is Charles Goyette. He is just one of the greatest truth tellers we have out in the media business today. He is now a great author as well. I know he's written quite a bit over his years of influence. The Dollar Meltdown is his new book. He has been considered forever in Phoenix as America's most independent talk show host. He was on my old station that I helped found over there as well. I'm very proud of that we could put that station there so someone like Charles Goyette can get on KFNX. You've seen him on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, PBS, even the O'Reilly Factor, and he's been on Lou Dobbs quite a bit, warning America what was coming, and guess what? He was right. He joins us on our program now to talk about his new book, The Dollar Meltdown. Charles, always great to have you on our show.
Jack, great to talk to you again, and I'm really happy that in the last couple of weeks, Glenn Beck on Fox TV has featured my book a couple of times, too.
Well, that should help.
Yeah, well, it didn't hurt. Sure didn't hurt.
You've hung up the mic for the written page almost, haven't you?
You know, I got a contract to do this book, and it was screaming to be told, and I thought it's my perspective that the rest of this crisis, the currency crisis, and the social crisis that goes with it cannot be averted for many, many years on the radio. I thought that we could turn the country around, somehow adjust the course of the ship of state, and do something to avert this crisis, and it's gotten to the point of no return now. The iceberg is dead ahead. There's an enormous mountain under the water line that's invisible to us, but the ship of state doesn't turn fast enough. So in my view, I'm trying to get people to man the financial lifeboats to insulate themselves from the coming calamity of the U.S. dollar, and I think that's a message best given to people on an individual basis who are interested. So I had a contract to write a book about this topic for one of the major publishers, and it's just come out this past couple of days.
And we're going to talk all about it here on the program today. You know, it's funny that you mentioned the Titanic. I saw the original movie about the Titanic last night, just out of coincidence. And here we are going, iceberg, iceberg. And people are going, no, anyone that says there's an iceberg is crazy. They're a racist. They're a terrorist. I mean, but this is a vindication in a way. I didn't want us to be right, Charles. I wanted us to be wrong about all this stuff because the ramifications are just catastrophic. I hear from my sources that the New World Order types that are running our financial system, you know, the usual suspects, the Volckers, the Rubins, the Summers, the Paulsons, and now the Timmy Geithners, all tied to the same Bank of International Settlements, IMF, World Bank, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Rockefeller Associates, Kissinger, Rothschild, and the Federal Reserve. I hear that their plan is to slowly let the air out of the dollar so that they can move to this global currency. Where are we on that, and can they control that controlled meltdown?
Well, that's a really good question. There are two things in there I'd like to talk about. There is a possibility that it can be controlled for a while, but the great economist Ludwig von Mises said that as they destroy a currency, as they devalue a currency, you suddenly reach a point at which it slips out of their control, that it can no longer be managed. He calls it, very descriptively, he calls it the crack-up boom. And that's what happens when everybody suddenly, virtually overnight, begins to realize that the paper currency, the prevailing currency in a society or a nation, is nothing but a piece of paper with some ink on it, and everybody begins to scramble at once to convert their paper money for something tangible, something that has real and lasting value, something that can be bartered if the paper currency goes to zero. So a process like this can certainly be managed for a while, but there's kind of a critical mass you hit at some point when people scramble unanimously to get out of it. So that's probably, I think, closer now than most people would care to acknowledge.
There is a history of this around the world, which I know you talk about in your book, The Dollar Meltdown. And so there is a roadmap for us to follow. We've seen what happened when these currency speculators like George Soros, Warren Buffett, even Dick Cheney, the Rothschild dynasty, when they get out and start betting against your currency, you don't have long left. And you make such a great point. They can maybe hold the balloon together for a little while, but then the smart people, the smart money, even if they're not completely corrupt, evil vampires, they're going to go bet on against the dollar and bet for something else because they're not going to lose their stake.
Well, here's a good example of it. I mean, it was just yesterday the Central Bank of India decided that, like all of these foreign countries, these foreign countries and central banks around the world have been persuaded over the last couple of generations to hold U.S. dollars. As you know, it's the reserve currency of the world. If you buy OPEC from oil, you've got to acquire U.S. dollars to do so first. But the central bank and these central banks issue their own currency against their dollar holdings, much like central banks once did, or just as we once issued our dollar against a reserve of gold, and you could go turn in. If at any time you were suspicious about the paper money, you could go exchange it, said right on the face, redeemable in gold coin. So you've got countries all over the world, most particularly the Chinese, the Japanese in there, Russians, India, and other foreign nations with massive amounts of U.S. dollars. And the other day, the Central Bank of India decided that they would much rather begin to convert those paper dollars, which are created by the Fed at virtually no cost, the cost of paper and ink, for something real. And they took down at over $1,000 an ounce, they took down 200 metric tons of gold from the International Monetary Fund. By the way, gold that really, for the most part, if you check the chain of custody, most of which really not so very long ago belonged to the American taxpayers.
Yeah, and I read that story. I can't remember. Was that gold as in paper or the actual gold itself, the physical gold?
Yeah, they're getting physical gold from the International Monetary Fund. And where'd the IMF ever get any gold? It was contributed by member nations, mostly, though, of course, as always, by the United States.
And that really does affect the dollar. You know, we're here with Charles Goyette, and his book is The Dollar Meltdown. TheDollarMeltdown.com is the website. You can find out about the book and where to get it and everything like that.